this kid challenge here. And this kid challenge, children into this deal. This is part 4. We've already done part 1 on salvation. Part 2 is doctrine. Part 3 is devotion. Just the making of how God has shaped who I am today as a children's evangelist, come from on the bus, now a children's evangelist. Now part number 4, this is the Kid Challenge goals. Part number 4 is ministry. So, I begin to just now in my, early, I guess, young life, been impacted by the bus, teenager, impacted by Bible quizzing and being launched into children's ministry. And in the 20s, I've, young adult life, begin to go into ministry and call into ministry, begin to have a life of prayer. And now God began to call me into ministry. And now begin to be a part of ministry, not just called to the ministry, but become a part of ministry. Dad gave me a bicycle. He said he got it at a garage sale for $10. And, I began to drive that bicycle and got me a Bible study. And I thought, man, this is awesome. I began to carry the big chart, begin to carry props, begin to go and teach Bible studies. It was to a gentleman and to his grandchildren. The briefcase was for the grandchildren because it had a bunch of props in it for kids, and then the Bible study chart was for him. It was a great time of winning people, of touching people, and I thought, now I get to fly all over the place and, drive vehicles and go here and there in my community. But the very first, vehicle that I had was, of course, my 2 feet. I'm thankful, and that $10 bicycle, and the ministry had to be done, and so I began to get to be a part of it, and I got on that bicycle. I enjoyed, even though the weather wasn't pleasant, I enjoyed going to the Bible study. I remember also bringing a young man to my house to teach Bible study and to serve him. So this is just one of the things that God has put inside of me, that I've seen my leaders, my pastor, my mentors teach Bible studies. And so this is the making of a kids evangelist. I tell people, before I'm an evangelist way over there in Kentucky, I better be an evangelist here in my city. And right now I'm currently teaching Bible studies. I'm still doing it. I'm thankful. But that's the passion and the heartbeat of a kids evangelist. Teaching kids in their home, teaching kids, passionate about that. And so I want to tell you some testimonies, tell you about my bicycle. I went from a $10 bicycle to a truck. I'll tell you the testimony. I began to go to my first job, and my boss saw me for 3 years driving my bicycle. And he, long story short, gave me a truck that I paid for $25, $25. And now I was in that truck, and I was praying one day. I was praying, and one late evening, I was praying. There we go again with prayer. I was praying, and the Lord said, "You're going to start teaching Bible studies in different locations." I believe that. He gave me a number, He gave me the location, and I went to go teach Bible studies. And that Bible study grew, and that Bible study began to impact children that today are teachers. They still come to church today. Thankful for that. But after that, I'm going to tell you, my employers were very touched by what God was doing, and they saw the children that my wife and I were impacting. And one day, I'll tell you, uh, God knows everything. God sees everything, and so they take me. My boss one day says, "Come with me." I thought I was in trouble. They take me, and they take me to a location where there's a van. Remember I told you I got Jesus called me there when I was on Van Street. So they take me to this van, evangelist. They take me to this van and they say, do you want this van? Get in. I begin to drive it. You like it? Going to be for your ministry. I'm not giving you all the details of the story. I only have a few minutes. But I said, yeah, I like it. Can you use this for your ministry? I said, yeah. The Lord said, yes, I'll take it. And I began to pick up kids, take them places. But let me tell you, at that same location where God gave me that van, I was caught stealing as a kid before I went to church. And look at God, right? The goodness of God that led me to the repentance now is helping me to stand there to receive this truck. I mean, this van. I tell you, I would pass by that area with my truck and I would see that van available and I would say, Lord, man, that would be awesome to have that van. I'll pick up more kids, do more things. And I thought, man, there's the devil trying to tempt me to steal that van. I got caught stealing it right there, exact same place. I got caught stealing, and the Lord. So I began to take that van and begin to evangelize with it, picking up kids, teaching them Bible studies, taking them places. But God was calling us to the ministry. God was involving us in Bible study. You know, ministry became important in my life. Ministry was not just in a pulpit or license, although you do those things. But the way that God was shaping me was as an evangelist, And I took opportunities, they weren't very, I guess you can say welcoming and nice, having to drive vehicles and do having to go to apartments where, there wasn't a good neighborhood. And so as an evangelist, you don't care where you go, just as long as you're touching people. At that time, my boss said, you know what? You need a trailer. And at that time, we had friends, the Ramseys, teach us about street ministry, and we got a trailer. We got some trailers. We began to begin our own street ministry here and begin to reach neighborhoods. Now I'm talking about ministry now, how God is shaping us now. And, we begin to go all over the place in our city, begin to impact people, begin to impact children. So this is now, I'm now traveling through my 30s and 40s, going, as, being called to ministry. And, by, by this time, I'm just traveling within my city. I'm just a children's evangelist within my city. And I'm so thankful that God has allowed that to happen, has shaped my life with ministry, with salvation. Got that in my backpack: doctrine, devotion, ministry. And now I get to be a part of something so amazing and get to see kids impacted. And, God just has been gracious to us. God has been uh, forever faithful to us. He's been there. And I'm so gracious to be even on these videos, to be able to share my testimony, the making of a children's evangelist. And from the very beginning when I rode on the bus to today is just encouraging and touching to me. And, I'm just thankful to see what God can do in your bus ministry, within your evangelistic efforts. The next child that you pick up could be the next evangelist. And, just begin to do these different goals within your ministry of salvation, doctrine, devotion, and ministry. So, just want to say appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next series.